We use a lot of lingo in our industry, don't we, John?
We do, and sometimes we take for granted that everybody knows what we're talking about.
So today we want to cover a few of the most commonly used terms and definitions. The first thing I ever heard when I joined this industry was hand. I didn't understand what they meant. I said, I've got two of them.
Very simple.
Very simple.
Softness.
Softness. So when you grab a piece of vinyl,
Yeah. Does it have a soft hand? What's the hand like? How does it feel? Drag is basically the tactile structure of the product. And usually urethane finishes give you the drag you want. It's kind of a waxy, in other words, it's not slippery. When you rub your hand across it, it drags a little bit. It's got a nice tactile feel. So that's where the term drag
you don't want to
comes
sit on
from.
your seat and have it too slippery either.
Yeah, that's it. And then the drag gives it a nice tactile feel, and it eliminates a lot of the slipperiness. You are correct.
Also, machine direction and warp direction, another of those terms that I think will confuse a lot of
Yeah,
people.
machine direction, basically, in our business, the correct term is warp and fill.
Warp and fill.
And it goes back to woven textiles, use that more than we do in coated, but warp is the direction that they run on the machine. So in our case, we call it machine direction. As it's running the machine, it would be up the roll, okay? And then the cross machine direction would be the fill direction. So warp and fill in the vinyl business is machine direction would be warp, and cross machine direction is fill.
Got it. Another common term, because it changes a lot of different types of vinyl, is the sheen or the gloss.
Right.
You can see two different products, they have two different sheens.
Right. And a lot of times, depending on the product, you want a very dull luster if you're looking to try to simulate like a nubuck leather or something like that. And if you're trying to go for a wet look, you want a high luster. But basically, it is the surface gloss of the product. And most finishes by nature, in their pure form, are glossy. We print vinyl in our business with rollers. There are other ways to print, but basically we use the rotary gravure process. And most of the rollers are 36 inches, and they repeat every 18 inches. So that same pattern is repeated twice on the same roll.
And then there's obviously prints that are incorporated into a lot of our different types of materials. Here's a beautiful little print here.
Right. And basically the printing process is a post-operation. The material is run on a piece of equipment, using a calendar or a cast coating line. The most common way to print in our business is rotary gravure. And basically that's done with a series of rollers, where the product is run through this series of rollers. The print is laid down. If it's a one-stage print, most products are one-stage print. Usually the maximum is a three-stage print, unless you're doing another form of printing like digital, which is a whole different ball game, or transfer print.
And then we often add an emboss, a feel,
Right.
a look. And we have hundreds of tools.
You get different terms for embossing. You get what's the grain, what's the emboss, and what's the texture.
Same thing.
And it's the same thing. It's what the surface is, and that's usually done in two different ways, either by an embossing roller or by a paper grain. It can actually be, you can emboss a product with paper.
One thing I've heard often used is puddling. Not like water. What do you mean by puddling?
Puddling is not good, obviously something you don't want. It's like a long continuous booth. It's when people are sitting on it and all of a sudden you start to see it looks like a little ocean effect where the material is not recovering. And usually that's caused because a low dense foam is being used, or they're using a substrate on the product itself that is stretching but not recovering itself.
Now, what makes our vinyl coated fabrics is we laminate a textile to the back.
Correct.
Here's an
Correct.
example of the
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Lamination is done a couple different ways. As you just said, it's putting the textile in the back of the product. It's either done at the end of the manufacturing, the calendaring process, or in some cases they will actually manufacture the film and then take it to a laminator and do nothing but put the textile on the finished vinyl product. Most people want their upholstery material to have a nice hand. If it has a nice hand, it will have a nice drape. So in other words, when it's hanging, it's like an unfolded umbrella, and it just has a nice drape. If it's stiff and boardy, then it will not. It doesn't have a good drape, and therefore it doesn't have a good hand. Drape and hand are somewhat related.
So school bus vinyl, not really
No, not a good
drape.
Not a good drape.
We don't care about those kids.
Not a good hand.
Not good hand.
No.
Boardy.
Boardy.
What would be a good example of good drape?
Mostly any product that's used in a pillow back application, like on your sofa or your pillows, because it's usually button tufted or it's crimped.
And finally, adhesion.
Adhesion. There are two types of adhesion. There's the adhesion of the textile to the vinyl itself. There's also the adhesion of the skin layer to the foam layer. First of all, on the adhesion of the skin layer to the foam layer, you have to have a good cross-link between the two chemistries so they become one. In the case of the backing to the vinyl, you want to have at least 4 pounds of adhesion. That is where when you try to pull the backing off, it takes at least 4 pounds per inch to pull that backing off. If not, you're going to have delamination in the field and you're going to have product failure.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, subscribe, and share below.
I like
questions. You did.
I
You did
love
great.
I love that part of the video.
So, if you have any questions, let us know. Comment below. Thank you again.
Thank you.